You are listening to the Short Convos podcast. And boom, we are live.
Are you introducing me? Introducing who should introduce?
I'll introduce. We are welcome to the Short Convos podcast. My name is Az Miralai, and today with my dear friend, Mr.
JC, Warrior of Light Cashman, we are having our short convo.
We are indeed. We will not ask how we have been this week because we're trying to keep it as authentic as possible. And we did catch up this morning today, so I know that we are both doing well. Where would you like us to start today?
Where do we start? I don't know really.
There's a lot going on. I think there's fair stuff to talk about.
I suppose what comes to mind is I've driven home a couple of times this week from dojo, from work, and it's the first time in a while I've had someone up my arse, if you get what I mean. Everyone seems to have gone and got themselves in a rush again. It's like there was someone that silly overtook yesterday, a couple of cars on a blind bend, and literally this week I've noticed a couple of cars up my arse again, and not because I'm a slow driver, just because our 5-year-old daughter said, why is that car going so fast? And it's like, well, they've gone and got themselves in a rush. They're in a rush somewhere. Have you noticed this?
I would love to have noticed this. However, I have probably the worst luck with cars that a human being can have. I thought, whilst it's quiet, before it gets busy again, I'll just get my car quickly serviced and MOT'd. One less thing to think about as we go back into business and all the rest of it.
Was this the Bentley or the Ferrari? What was it you were getting?
This was just the Nissan Duke, aka the worst car ever built by man. Went in for a simple MOT and walked out without my car for a week due to needing new suspension on the front and new brake calipers on the front.
Could it be down to how you drive?
I did ask. To be fair, I did ask because I do tend to approach speed bumps with, less than. It's a high car, so you can kind of roll over them.
You can coast them.
Yeah, but no, I think it's just a garbage car for garbage people, and I bought it because I'm stupid and garbage. So that's what I'm going with.
So you haven't seen the world get in a rush all of a sudden?
No, I've been very relaxed on a bus, but I have experienced the whole being on a bus thing for the last week, which has been like a bit of a reminder of that, because I haven't had to get on a bus for quite a long time, regularly anyway, to do a journey. So no, I haven't experienced the rush, but I can see why, because I always thought a lot of people are just going to default back to their default behaviors as soon as they get the chance to. Those people who are like that are just like that, aren't they? And people are just starting to revert back to original form, no evolution.
Yeah, I would say I haven't now necessarily got myself in a rush. Like this time last week, I do a Wednesday workout. Like we record this on Wednesday. I'll do a Wednesday workout, and I like giving a bit of honesty with the workout. Lead by example and everything. And I was absolutely spent last week. Like my batteries were depleted. I think I might have said I was on cheap Poundland batteries. And I had nothing going into the workout. So I said at the end of the workout next week, as a little bit of a goal, I want to make sure that I'm better rested by the time I come to the workout. And I was better rested, definitely better rested. But it feels like the rest of the world is just really rushing. And I'm just trying to keep up, I suppose, at the moment. Just trying to keep up with pace of a rushing world, but not trying to get myself in a rush at the same time.
Yeah, I've heard, because, a lot of people I know are going back to their jobs now. I've heard a lot of people are really struggling to get back to, working a full day. People are like really struggling with having the focus and having the intention to work, whether it be a 9 to 5 or whatever. Bless you.
Excuse me. There'll be one more.
No,
it's 2.
There'll be one more?
There's usually always 3. We're going 2s.
Oh, okay. Have you ever heard Anne sneeze, by the way?
No.
Oh, okay. So my wife sneezes in 7s to 9s. Yeah, it's just crazy. Well, we've had a 10 once, and that was really impressive. 7 to 9 is the average.
I think that could be viral. You got to get that out there.
I've never managed to film it, but yeah, I'm going to try and I'll put some pepper up on those or something, and I'll catch it. But yeah, I've been hearing that people are struggling to get back to it after 3-4 months of not having to do it. So I don't know if that's maybe why they're rushing, is they just feel they're not on top of things like they used to be, or everything's taking a little bit longer.
Yeah,
roads feel busy.
I haven't done anything less for the last 4 months. I've done more of anything for the last 4 months. I think we're possibly on the flip side of that, aren't we?
Yeah, I guess depending on your situation, some people have had to work a lot harder just to maintain, whereas some people have had the opportunity to very much kind of just switch it off for quite a long period of time. It's like if you leave a car too long, it's going to be a bit more difficult to get it running again. So I think we've been busy in a lot of different ways, and therefore haven't had as much chance to get lazy, get complacent on things.
So when I did that that workout Wednesday, I was like, life's got in a bit of a rush. There's like lots going on, kind of thing. And I was kind of explaining, even with that, like last week I was knackered. This week I was rushed off my feet. It's like you still got to make your time for those things. I use the analogy of like going to the dentist. It's not something that you want to do. It's quite often comes with pain and cost and things like that, but it's something that you've got to do, kind of thing. And that's how I'm sort of drawing that analogy. And this week I've had a few today actually an uncomfortable conversation as well. I've had to approach a couple of uncomfortable conversations, and a flip side of that is how your mind works. And it's like, not that I ever don't want to talk, I'm just being open here and honest, I don't want to ever talk to you or anything like that, but do you know how it feels sometimes like you just don't want to be having a conversation, but then again I know that it's needed and it's gonna go somewhere. So like the example, for instance, today, I won't bore you with the details, but I needed to talk to someone ultimately about money, but they weren't necessarily knowing that I was going to talk about that, and it's all to do with a personal property inheritance thing and everything else. So it's awkward because they're a bit older and everything else, but it's like, just pick up the phone and just do it. And it's just that, but then on the flip side, I want to talk to you, but then it's again like, do you get where I'm coming from with that?
Oh yeah, all the time. I find myself with that situation more often than not. But you're right, aren't you? You have to have those uncomfortable conversations, because if you don't, you're going to have bigger problems down the line, or it's going to fester into something. Or the worst thing, and I think we're a bit more sensitive to this than a lot of people, is you have certain values that you base yourself upon. And if you don't have that conversation, you're not being true to yourself about what you say you stand for. And I think if your word means something to you and your opinion of yourself means something to you, then you're a bit more likely to make those calls, whereas other people will just kind of bury their head in the sand.
Yeah. But I look at it from the point of view of the majority of times I have these uncomfortable conversations is to get somewhere, not necessarily always to get something that you're going to benefit from, but to get somewhere. More often than not, something that's going to benefit a whole lot of people. It's just that uncomfortableness that I think I've just got really quite accustomed to it now. And I'm just realising that, all right, I've got to do that today. All right, I'll do it. Kind of
thing. It's a growth mindset though, isn't it? If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. I always try to tell people it's like being one of those animals that has to shed its skin. It's growing and it gets to a point of discomfort. And if it doesn't get the discomfort, it doesn't know that it's time to shed. It understands it through that mechanism. And I think we're the same. We have to be uncomfortable to then be in a situation that requires you kind of to develop.
Yeah.
Because what's uncomfortable now probably won't be in a few years. Like that, if you had to have that same conversation again, it will be less uncomfortable because you've experienced it and you've learned and grown from it. That makes
And
sense.
actually, the conversation was fine. And if anything, the person on the other side was very grateful of receiving the call and
That you
conversation.
open the dialogue.
And they started the conversation where I wanted it to go anyway. So it's almost like both sides are waiting for it, and it's just who's gonna actually say it, kind of thing.
But that's a tendency, isn't it, to make things worse in your head than what they more often than not are. You kind of think worst case scenario, and then most of the time it's nowhere near as bad as what you think it's going to be.
Yeah. This one, it was just a bit more of I'll just leave it, because you're not going to gain anything not leaving it, vice versa. So it was like, I just
wasn't pressing.
Yeah, but something come up today and it's like, no, this is actually pressing now. So I need to press it. And it takes me on to actually, maybe you can relate or give your input on it, but I find it really difficult to deal with messages at the moment, as in from a point of view, text, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media, emails, just basically cope with the amount of messages that are coming in. So you get your usual trivia, you get your usual spam there, it's just a delete, or you could have a little look at the shop or that. So disregarding all of the trivia, there's just so many messages that I reckon I could spend all day just replying to emails, and I wouldn't get to the bottom of it. Are you finding that at all?
I've always had this problem, but I put a kind of solution to it a long time ago, and I've stuck by it pretty well. I just batch it, so I've got 2 hours a day, one early, one late. And it's just where I just work up the strength to just sit and just do as much as I can. So I'll just reply to as many emails and as many texts as possible. And at the end of that hour, that's it. It's cut off. So I try and go by priority of things that I actually think have to get sent. But at the end of that hour, I'll write that last email, that last message, and I shut it off again until the next morning where I approach it. Because otherwise, like you said, all day, you could just do it all day. And the problem is that your inbox it's other people's wants and needs, not yours. So it's everyone else's priorities that they're trying to put onto you. Mr. Cashman, could you do this? Mr. Cashman, we'd love it if you did this. Please click here for this. Please, could you let me know about this? It's all for them. None of it's really for you. And it's certainly not where you want to direct your energy, but it can just derail you, and it can just hold you there for hours. So all my phones and stuff, they're on do not disturb mode. I don't get any notifications because I don't care. The only ones you can get through are like my mum in case someone's dying. Other than that, it's like it can just wait because I'll get to it at 6 p.m. when I'm going to sit down and reply to you all. And a few people like yourself, you're on what I call the exception list, where it's like most of the time you message me, I can either read it and know I can get back to you later, or I can just reply to it quickly and give you what's required. But the majority of people, they go in the brackets.
Yeah, I find actually funny you say that. I find there's a number of people where I always like to be polite. So on an email, on a text, I always like to say hi and write their name. And I always like to finish with a thank you or have a good day or something like that. And then the content of the message. And you don't see that a lot nowadays.
No, messaging has killed that, hasn't it? Because we went from letters and emails to now it's a text where it's like, you just say that.
Even in a comment, I don't feel polite unless I've done that.
I never realized that's what that was, because I've always known you to do it, that you sign off on almost everything, even a comment. That's interesting.
Yeah, and but I'll do a similar thing. Yeah, we're on the same page then with messages. Like I have certain days, like Monday morning, Wednesday morning, where I put an hour aside just to prioritize some flagged emails or something like that. Or I have a written rule now, 10 till 10, from 10 in the morning to 10 at night. Unless I'm posting something or sending something that is part of the workflow or whatever it is one's doing on that day, I don't address social media or emails or messages or anything.
Yeah, I call them infinity pools. I don't remember where I heard it. It's from something, but you could do anything where you could technically just scroll forever.
Yeah,
I just don't touch them at certain parts because you just go down a rabbit hole with it. And before you know it, 2 hours, 3 hours of your day are gone. And really, you've achieved a whole lot of nothing.
yeah,
So they're dangerous, and they're designed to be like that, aren't they? They are designed to hold
they
your
must be, yeah.
attention and keep you kind of looking through them. That's what they want, and they probably spend millions on these app designs to make sure that they're as addictive as possible.
Because then they can put an advert in the corner, can't they, and sell it?
Yeah, that's right. You're scrolling through, you're seeing all your friends and family, and then before you know it, you're on Amazon and adding 50 things to your basket that you never knew you wanted.
Do I want this?
Do I want this? Yes, I want this. I need this.
Well, I did see an interesting thing. I can't even remember what day it is, let alone what day I saw this. I saw an interesting thing. I don't know if you have come across it, but it was a study done on the decreasing of the world population. So they've done this study, and I'm not quoting the numbers right, and I haven't got it at hand to go to. But let's say, for instance, the average woman these days, they've done this study, the average female these days, I think this is worldwide, so this isn't just UK, worldwide, is having 2.3 kids. If you went back 40 years or whatever the study was, 50 years, it might even be more than that, 100 years, the average woman was having 4.3 kids. So there's been a decrease in the amount of children per female. And then they said if that study is, if it continues going where it is, it's going to continue to fall because the female are now working, they're doing so much. This is what they're contributing to why they're having less kids. And then they said if it follows suit where it's going, if it drops below 2.1, then it means the world population will decrease. So if it drops between this specific number, it means statistically, a female has less female births than male births. So the world population will increase by males more. So then you have a bigger male pool anyway. So you have then less females, then that would happen. And I think you estimate by the end of this century, so by 2100, the American population, the China population would have halved.
Wow.
And our population would be like three quarters, a third down. And there's different countries though. It would estimate that like Africa, for instance, could potentially become a superpower because of their birth rate still being very high. And it could go up. But then it went into say the study then explored what would happen because you'd have a shift in the age demographic of people alive. So you'd have less young people and more old people, and you wouldn't have effectively enough young people working to look after the older people.
The older generation. It affects so much when you think about it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was massive.
Reaches so far.
Like it's something that, like it was saying, I think it was 2050 or something like that. It was saying that the shift could happen, as in if we stayed on track right now, anything could happen right now. But if we stayed on track, the shift could happen in 2020, and by the end of the 2050, by the end of the century, that's when we'd see the population in half in comparison. But yeah, I didn't know if you'd heard of anything like that. I found it a really interesting read.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it, but it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Because women are doing so much more now than they ever have been, and they're not just housewives anymore. There's so many. I know so many women who have no interest in kids. They don't want any of that. They're very career driven, very career focused. And I think generally speaking, people want less kids. So even if you want them, people tend to only want.
Aren't they?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can never remember what the number is, like the average cost of raising a child, but it's it's a horrendous number. It does make me feel a bit uncomfortable. Worth every penny. I hear you, but my God, are they expensive? So I think a lot of people, they hold back on it just through practicality, which is a really sad thing, isn't it? If if you wanted 3 kids, but you only have 1 because you don't feel you could afford to raise it, that's a bit sad.
In China, though, it's you can. Or
well, they're limited, aren't they?
Yeah, they're limited anyway, aren't they? And then if they're having a daughter, they're given away because it's the male that looks after the family. So if they don't have a male, they don't get looked after, basically.
Yeah, I don't know if they've updated all of that in recent years, but there is still definitely very clear restrictions, and you kind of have to get like a license to get pregnant and all the rest of it. So it's a different world really in that sense. But I guess we have to do something because at one point it just kept going up, didn't it? Like the population of the planet. Yeah. And it was going to get to a point where I think we already are, where we can't really sustain it, as in the planet, the damage we're doing to the planet by there being so much of us is unsustainable. Yes. So I think, although it sounds insane to put such measures onto people about their freedom to make babies, it's almost like a responsibility of us as a species because of how successful we've been at populating the earth and surviving. Because we have an almost unfair advantage with our brains. This pandemic is a good example, because if it happened to any other species, natural selection would just take them away. But we've been able to affect that by putting things in place such as masks and social distancing through our intelligence. And then we've very much limited the damage that's been done by it. But if it happened to, elephants, it wouldn't happen, and they'd just die off. So we're very good at surviving and very good at making babies. Yeah.
And survival, I think, has been shown with this whole lockdown thing to be too easy, hasn't it? It has been too easy. Just from the day-to-day, being able to get your Starbucks to, just the necessities, it's just too easy, really, isn't it?
We're spoiled, and that's why you see so many people getting so upset about having to wear a mask that they feel like it's a breach of their rights, or it's like, people who tell me they can't breathe through the mask. I'm like, you're the kind of person who, when they say you can't fight your way out of a paper bag, that's what they mean, right? What, you can't breathe through this thin piece of paper bag. It's just crazy. But we're just so spoiled that we don't even realize how comfortable and how good we have it, in a first world country like ours. And then we get some small limitations put on us, and we get so upset and so irate and so angry about it. And that's even when the reasoning behind it is because we're trying to save lives. It's just, it's strange. I mean, and I'm right in there with it because I've been that person. I've caught myself being frustrated and being angry at people. And then you get a bit of perspective.
Double scoop, triple latte, caramel
I've been upset about it. I have been. I'll admit it. But you find some perspective, and then you kind of get back on the boat.
Yeah. A few people have said to me, or I've heard being said as well, that they can't wait till 2020 is over. I want to write this year off. I want to ignore this year and everything.
I hear that all the time. It's crazy talk, isn't it?
Yeah. If anything, I say it even bothers me. It's like, we're only in July. Why? I know it's not looking like we're going to be, having house parties or going to the cinema or doing all the things that we might want to be able to do that we can't at the moment. But why would you write off a year, even a day? I feel
it's how spoiled we are. You're spoiled. You're so spoiled. You're willing to write off 6 months of your life. Like, that's how good you have it. That you could just throw 6 months of it away, and you don't feel like that's going to do you any harm. And I guarantee you, if you could actually press a button and fast forward to January 21, people would press it. 100% people would press it and just skip 6 months.
But I can't even look back on this lockdown, this last 4 months, as a waste. I can look back and say, I could have just sort of said, look, business is shut, everything is shut. So, and just taken a whole load of time off, and maybe gone to the beach a bit more with the kids, or because we've never been to the beach during this. And I think we could have done things like that. But in hindsight, we wouldn't be where we are coming out of it right now. You'd be in quite a frantic, different position, I think. and
Yes.
not that we're in, necessarily a good position yet, as in just survival. And so yeah, to even think writing off, or I can't even say that. Oh yeah, the last 4 months has been a waste, or that.
Well, it's not, has it? It's been an experience, and I think you're more than within your rights to say that at times it's been a struggle and it's been tough. But that's life, isn't it? Like, how are you ever meant to know when times are good if you don't have some bad times?
Yeah.
You're never going to know the difference. What, you just always want to skip past the bit where the dog dies and people cry? Like, that's how it goes. You can't bypass these things. It's going to come anyway.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just something people say. But I just wish, like, I think you feel the same. You just wish people would stop and think about it for a minute before they spill it out of their mouths, because it's just such a ridiculous statement.
Flippant thing, flippant thing. I think I have spoken to a couple of people where they have had real bad trauma, so they've lost someone very close because of COVID, or I spoke to someone that's lost several people, and it's left one person needing, full-time care. It's needed, they've had quite a horrendous time from it. So you wouldn't want to wish that upon anyone. But even like, I've had my fair share of tough time, and I even look back on it and not now even wish it away, because it's made who I am today. And without that, I wouldn't have, grown to or done what I can do now, kind of thing. It would have just been all happy fairies dancing in the flowers if it had just stayed as it was.
Yeah, it's the way, I think it's the one defining truth of this universe, isn't it? We would talk about zeros and ones. You can't have your ones without your zeros. Yeah, it's that dichotomy of life where, sunrise, sunset, good, evil, dichotomy. I believe that's the word for it.
Before.
I'm quite sure I'm using it right. I think that's the word. We'll double check on it. But yeah, the dichotomy of life is that we've got all these parallels, and you can't ignore them. You can try to, but they're just everywhere. And it's just how everything works. Even like down to an atom of positive and negative, it's either on or it's off. And then it's all balanced. But you have to have both. If you don't have both, then it's all out of whack.
Yeah, it's interesting when we chat how it always sort of goes back to the same route. This whole balancing, and it's like at the weekend we had a GB camp, and we were talking about different disciplines, or coaches were talking about, we were watching some videos and we were talking about different things with different disciplines, and it all goes back basically to the same thing. I don't know if there's a name for that as well, but it all comes back to this common ground, common balance to it all.
Yeah, well, I guess it's the way you view the world, isn't it? It's the lens that you choose to look at the world through. Yeah. And you can choose to say the world's miserable or whatever, or you can choose to say the way I see it and the way I try to look at everything is it's all in balance. So, this situation with my car is a pretty crap time, but it's going to be balanced out by something else, or it already has been. Like, I've had a good time and this is the other side of it. And I think it just makes everything a lot easier if you look at it that way, rather than just feeling like the victim all the time and like you're on the bad end of stuff endlessly.
I think some people have been really bad in a previous life and just getting it good now, and vice versa.
Yeah, it might even go that far. You know what I mean? When you see people and you're like, God, what did you do to deserve all of that? Yeah. And it's like, maybe it's not even from this dimension. You might be getting it from somewhere else. Or there's someone else who's getting it so good, and you are the balancing rod to balance it out on the other side. That's rough. Like but there we are. Who knows? Because we always kind of think of it in terms of our little planet, but it goes way beyond this little rock, doesn't it?
This is a bit of space dust, aren't we? Universe dust. Like,
so in the big picture, our bad days, they don't really move the needle at all. So
no.
Can't let it get to you too much.
We were talking about how songs trigger emotions and things and that. And what you just said triggered in my head. I always think that when we fly over cities, I always enjoy when you're in a plane and you look over a city, especially a city, because you see the vastness of population of existence and that. And I always find it humbling, I suppose, especially when you've got the sun breaking through the clouds and it's all like spiritual and everything. You're looking out there and you just look at the vastness and you think, my problems are really so minuscule. Every penny to everything that you could have a problem about is so minuscule to everything else. The grandness of it all, isn't it?
Yeah, astronauts say it apparently all the time. So like in interviews, when they talk about going out into space and seeing the whole planet in one go, that's the first thing they always talk about, is that it's a big reminder of just how insignificant you are. And it's not insulting. It's like you said, it's humbling. It just kind of, it grounds you that you're a very small part of something actually very beautiful and special and very big. And you're very tiny. So if you're getting really upset, you've got to remember you're one piece of.
But that insignificance isn't a negative, is it?
No, it shouldn't be.
Without that one insignificance, the whole thing wouldn't matter anyway.
Yeah. And you don't understand, we said this last week, you don't know how far you reach because you don't see it all the time. Someone apparently made soup with a bat, and I don't think they ever realized how that little bat soup was going to reach the world and become what it is now.
Say that again. Soup was invented by a bat. Soup.
No, I do believe, and I might be wrong, and it's a terrible joke, really. But I believe that they've narrowed COVID down to have come from someone trying to eat or do something with a bat.
Oh, I'm with you. I thought you were talking about Heinz tomato soup for a minute.
No, I'm talking about the man who was in his little house and decided that he was going to make soup and decided he was going to throw some bat in there. And before you know it, created COVID-19 and has now spread it all across this planet and all across this world. And
it wasn't those scientists in lab coats inventing something.
Even if it was, then it was that little man in that little lab.
Or that Russian.
Or the Russian. Oh, can we become a conspiracy theory podcast? That's much more fun.
Yeah.
Let's leave all this personal development stuff on. Let's talk about flat Earth.
I switched on the news. I do it on my iPad. I go to the news app and it said Russia, Russia, Russia. So, watch out for Russia. I just turned it off because it's like, why are they trying to distract me with that now? What the? Do you know what I'm talking about?
For me, it's just like so low on my priority list of things to care about that. It flagged up and I saw something and I was like, I'm not even going to click because it's is it going to change anything? Am I going to read anything that's going to shift my world or my universe? No. I could see how it's just a distraction. And if it's not, then, we need to
proper stuff.
There's enough going on right now for us not to be worrying about that unless it really is something serious, which I don't know. I'm not anywhere near informed enough to even comment on it. All I know is, let someone else worry about the Russians. I'm not worried.
I found the last couple of weeks I have been able to, even though we can't do a lot of the things that we want to do or usually do, because a lot of the things we do involves big groups of people or contact with people, as in, kicking and punch people and all that kind of thing. But what I have enjoyed the last couple of weeks is being able to start setting some goals. And things like that, and feel like, right, we can strive towards something. I don't feel that I've crossed that line of completing a goal yet. Like, for instance, the camper has been a real good, I've got 1971 VW Bay camper, for those that might not know that's listening, and I've rebuilt the engine. Well, I've got an engine and reassembled the engine and everything. It's one of those things, you go down a rabbit hole and it's like you're constantly needing a replacement parts. You have to wait another week for that to arrive, but I'm literally there now. It's all assembled. We think we've got a bad earth, that's why it won't start. So I've got a friend coming around Friday that's a mechanic that's now bothered that it's not starting. So they're like, like, he's doing my head in. And I've got the parts hopefully arriving tomorrow for the rebuild of the back wheels. So we're at a point where I should be able to turn and drive again. So I feel like that's going to be like it's going to be a goal achieved. And then just with, business starting up again and your usual necessity goals of it, we're looking at personal things from a family point of view that we want to achieve, and just getting back into a nice routine of family time and all those kind of things. So yeah, I feel like there's some goals emerging from the horizon. Anything for you, or are you just stuck in your black room without your crap car, not going anywhere?
When they come around and ask me what I've learned most from all of this stuff.
Who's coming around to ask that?
Someone will come. There'll be someone at the door.
They will come.
They will come, and I will be ready to answer the question. And when I get asked this question,
what have you got the most from this?
There you go. See, the moment has come. I've been waiting for this moment. I will tell people and I will explain to people that I needed to set bigger, much bigger goals for myself in the first place, because I think I played it safe up to a point. And in some ways, any struggle that I had through this time was down to me not taking bigger risks when I had the chance to. And then we find ourselves in a situation which is risky, but not very safe to take the risks, because everything's a bit more mad. And then I look back on things and think, I should have set bigger goals. I should have set giant ones. And even if I missed them, I would have got closer to the mark than I have done. So yeah, in that sense, I'm kind of ready to set some big mountain goals and do some big journeys towards things. That's the plan for the next.
Metaphoric journeys, or are you really going to the moon for cheese?
I would like to go to the moon for cheese. I'm up for going to the moon. I'm up for space travel. I'm well in. If they ever make that in my lifetime, I would be on the list. I'd go. For that. I like to I just like to look back and see this planet in its whole.
Oh, you're talking one-way space travel, right?
Oh, that's if it's we're going to Mars to inhabit it. Please take me.
You're
build me a pod. Put me in cryogenic sleep for 50 years and wake me up on the other side. I'm up for it. Populate a new planet.
I think I would have been very much the same. You know what changes it? Family, kids.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to leave them not knowing that they were okay, kind of thing. I wouldn't be prepared to go away unless everyone was on board, which is very unlikely. I wouldn't want to leave them, because I feel there's an ownership to looking after them. I think that's just one thing that some people don't really take ownership of, and it's like my biggest goal is making sure that they're all right.
Now it's interesting because for me, it doesn't sound like we're talking about going to space anymore. Kind of sounds like we're talking about dying.
No, but space. So bringing it back to space. If it, the film Armageddon. Where they have to go in one-way trip, blow up the meteor.
Yeah.
I'd stand up straight away, because if it would save the girls, I'd do that. I'd throw myself under a bus to I wouldn't, but metaphorically speaking, so I'll do that space travel. But we're with a cause to save others, kind of thing.
It's interesting you got onto the parenting thing, because me and Anne are married now, so we're having those conversations about starting a family, and I've been kind of thinking about what it would mean to me to have kids and make sure that I'm approaching it right. And I think, and you can confirm this for me, I think parenting is sacrifice. I think that's kind of the ultimate thing of it is that you sacrifice yourself to make sure that they have the best possible life. And in return, you get something back for it in terms of the love and the feelings that can only come from having children and watching them blossom into their own people. Yeah. But I think to be a good parent, it's to be willing to sacrifice yourself like that. And that's an extreme, obviously, like blowing up the meteorite. But other stuff, you'd give your last bit of bread to make sure the girls eat instead of you. You'd spend your last penny on them instead of spending it on yourself.
I think if you were in the shop and parenting was a packaged thing, so whatever it looks like in that package, maybe a baby is in that package, I think sacrifice would be on the hazard or the ingredients or the list. I wouldn't put that, just personally speaking, as a thing. I don't think you would want to advertise it on it. You're going to get wet if you go swimming. If you get this thing, one of the things you're getting with it is sacrifice. If you want to make it work, I would agree with that. I was just thinking what the word I would give it. Responsibility. I would say it's more a case of responsibility, and I don't think people own up in general to their responsibilities. I don't think people own up to saying sorry when they shouldn't have, or just their own responsibilities. I think parenting is the biggest one.
Well, staying on that, so here's a question carrying on from that. What would you say is your ultimate responsibility as a parent? So to your kids, if you could, in your time with them, if you can get them one thing, if you could teach them or distill one thing into them, what do you think your greatest responsibility as a parent is to make sure you do for your children?
This might change as life goes on, and I think your responsibility for the children changes. So when they're first born, like that firstborn, first 3 months kind of thing, where they're so dependent on you, is just life survival. It's just making sure they breathe.
Keep them alive.
Yeah, making sure they breathe first and foremost. When they cry, is it because they're hungry? Is it because they're tired? Or because they got wind? It's like that. But then when they start to walk, the responsibility is to make sure they don't hurt themselves. Because quite often, I'm not religious, but I would say God willing, because that's what my nan would have said. But you've got a healthy child, and when they're walking, you're making sure they don't hurt themselves. You're making sure there's a stair gate. You're making sure all those kind of things. Bypass, 12, 13, 15 years, and you're getting to a teenager, and you're trying to help their mental stability in a crazy world that we all go through with crazy mind. So I think responsibility changes. In my experience, and I don't have a lifetime of experience as a parent, but I try to look at lifetime's experience of parenting. So I try and look at my grandparents as parents, what they did. I think example is your biggest responsibility. Not what you provide for them, not where you take them, not what you give them, not any of that. I think the biggest responsibility is example, because even if you are the worst human being possible, without going too dark down a route, shall I say, let's just say you just haven't done things good, you're an alcoholic, you've just been, neglected them and everything else. I do think that a child will still have some connection. Well, you see it, don't you? They still have some connection to you as a parent. They still have something because you brought them into the world, and there's something there, isn't there? And even then, you're still an example, aren't you? So I think the example is the biggest responsibility.
Nice.
So yeah, nice. I think what you say, what you do, and even if it's not to them, just with them, I think the example is the biggest thing. And I think that's what I try to do every day. And some days you look back, or weeks you look back and go, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that, or those kind of things. Or you hear your kid do something and you're like, oh no. I know where that's come from.
That was my example.
Yeah, my bad. But likewise, the flip side of that, you see them do something, or hear them do something, or say something, and you know that you've contributed, maybe in some small part. I think the best thing is when your kid starts telling you stuff you don't know. They start educating you on things, or they pull you up on something, or again, I can't draw an example right now, but I think that
I get what you mean,
and that's cool. So yeah, make some babies, Az.
Yeah, all right, I'm going to do it now.
All right. On that, see you later.
I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah. The delivery person didn't come. You didn't say it at the start. You said it before recording. Not that we have.
I did say it before. It's any time before 10 because now the world never sleeps. So you can get stuff delivered at 10 at night. So I'm benefiting from that. So I assume that when I'm trying to chill and relax, he'll be at my door.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm gonna say why I'm gonna go now because I don't know if you can see him through the door. Bruce is outside, and for the last 10 minutes,
he's been the featured guest today. We've been hearing him.
For the last 10 minutes, he's been barking because the rest of the household are just sitting down watching telly and not getting. Oh, Brucey, come in now.
Brucey. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, Bruce is a very beautiful German Shepherd. So Bruce, if you've heard any barking in the audio version today, he's been trying to give his opinion on parenting and the universe.
Everything else. So yeah, on that note, now I'm going to go be an example and do something probably I shouldn't.
Peace out, dude. I'll see you next time.
See you later.